Never did any good of it.
Thank you.
Hi, you're welcome.
You're right in front of it. Yeah, they won't start until about 2 o'clock. We're just doing that for 2 o'clock.
Any person who ever go with
Well, myself, my mom, my grandparents, and I want to say thank you everyone for coming. I'm fortunate that this is how we're meeting some of us and joining together. Just thank you all for coming. And we'll start off with my grandfather saying a few words about my dad.
He was a very, very active kid. That's where he ran before he could walk. Spent many years watching him play sports, coaching him playing sports. One of my favorite years was when Mike and Tom were on the same team in 1981. The Ipswich Blues RA Athletic. They would be on the same team again until high school. Sports played a big part in Tom's life, from youth to adult. He was a gifted athlete, and he played pretty much all the sports, gave him a try. But soccer, or as I call it football, dominated, clearly. Very talented. He played, one of the fortunate things he got to do is he played when he was playing in high school in Germany, because of the separation of the schools, he got to travel all over Western Europe. The visiting team would stay with the home team, and which would be an overnight stay. They would usually go out, see a little bit of their town, their community, and then play a game the next day. During his senior year, Tom took Little on High, one of the smallest of the Dodge schools over there, to their first ever school championships in Berlin, not too long after the wall kicked up. Then, again, always enjoying sports. He had a part-time job while he was at Hahn in Germany, and he ended up meeting the coach of the base rugby team. So my 17-year-old was again traveling Europe, this time with Cheetah Eyes. Tom was a smart kid, very smart kid, but kind of an indifferent student. He did what he needed to get by. After high school, he decided he didn't want any part of further education, so he he had some idea of police work, which led to him enlisting in the Air Force with the guarantee of Air Force police, especially police training. And he spent most of that time here at Nellis, which is eventually why he ended up staying here. Although he did have an opportunity to go to several different bases, including Guantanamo Bay. He definitely found Vegas exciting. So after discharge, he started dealing to kind of pay the bills. That was the idea. But as fate would have it, he met Beata, and a gaming career with both of them were in his future. He started out at the Gold Coast, was a foreman at the Orleans and Suncoast, and he spent the last 15 years as a pit boss at the South Point. Several of his dealers and peers left very beautiful comments on the guest book he had from the crematorium, and several of the comments centered on what a good boss he was and what a good person. And I just wanted to read one of them. He laughed and joked when others would not, and never made you feel bad. He always wanted new dealers to better themselves and learn new things. He was always so good with everyone. He would talk so much about his plans when he would finally get out of the business, and where he would go and ask about this idea or that idea. He really was looking forward to the future. This comment from that was left on his e-board. Soon after Tom and Beata got married, Monica came along and blessed us. Monica is also the reason why Margaret and I ended up in this valley. The next 23 years would be filled with the three of them doing Tom's second love, which was traveling. Trips to Cancun, San Francisco, Hawaii, and I don't know how many to San Diego. I'm not even sure Beata and Monica remember how many, but that was definitely a town they loved. Tom's love of sports continued into adulthood. He met many friends through work in men's softball and soccer. He enjoyed regular fantasy sports leagues with friends at work. When Monica wanted to play softball, Tom was there to get her started and coach. But their main sport that the three of them all fell in love with was tennis, which Tom and Beata definitely encouraging Monica to play youth tennis, USTA, high school, and eventually college. Beata and Tom regularly played tennis up until his passing. Tom and I shared a deep love of English football, soccer. When possible, we watched most of the big matches here on TVs together, enjoyed the day, especially our favorite, Liverpool. In passing, I had mentioned several times, I've been in love with Liverpool for a lot of years, but I'd never been to Anfield, which is their stadium. And I'd mentioned that several times to him, just in passing. In 2017, Tom said, let's do it. So we had a great fun planning our first English football tour. We spent 2 weeks in April of 2018. We got to go to watch games at the game that we loved with many of the historic English pitches. When Tom was growing up in Newmarket, East Anglian Giant Ipswich was his favorite team. That's his scarf over there. And so one of the first stadiums that we hit in 2018 was Portman Road. The tour culminated at Liverpool's Football Cathedral exit. Tom reminded me often that I not only called the result that day, but who exactly would score. He was so glad that he had made my dream come true. Tom also got a chance to retrace the number of places he lived in England. He was obviously very little. Some of the places he was just a baby. But we got around to England and all the different places he lived in, and met several of the people that were still living there, which was actually some nice encounters. Over the years, we shared dinners, barbecues, holidays. Whenever Tom came over, he headed to Mom. Whenever I was traveling, he was always there, making sure Mom had what she needed. Tom was always a good son. He was a fine man and a trusted confidant. Tom, we will miss you and we'll love you always.
Okay. It's very hard for me to stand up here in front of you all and try to say a speech about my dad. I simply cannot put our relationship and all the important things about him that I love into a speech. It's just not possible. I'm a strong believer that the bond between a dad and his daughter is a special and sacred one. Being an only child, I was certainly the focus of my dad's life. My mom never fails to tell me how proud my dad was to have me, how he would always make her go to the mall with him after I was born just to walk around holding me, solely for the purpose of trying to show off that he has a baby girl. Throughout my childhood and developing into who I am today, I think my dad and I, but also the people closest to us, realized me and my dad share many similar character traits. With these similarities, we had an amazing connection of understanding each other's minds and why or how we behaved the ways that we did. Granted, we did clash sometimes, just as any parent and child does, but at the end of the day, it was all derived from good intentions. I don't think my dad ever realized that he taught me thousands on thousands of unspoken life lessons. He taught me patience, how to control my stubbornness that we shared, how to be confident, work hard, be competitive, stay true to my goals, how to express love and care through actions, not just words, to always stand up for myself, and how to live life freely and filled with laughter, which he absolutely loved, and he always was able to make my mom and I laugh. These are just a few of my dad's impactful teachings. He was tough on me at times, as any parent should be, but I cannot be any more grateful for who he was to me and all the things he taught me. I'll be forever thankful, and there really is no other human being like him. The pandemic turned out to be the worst thing to happen thus far in my life, since it took my dad and my future with him, but something that I can take away from the time we spent in lockdown together. I will forever hold those memories close to my heart, because during that time, my mom, my dad, and I were able to detach ourselves from our busy lives of school and work and really focus on spending quality time together. Often in life, we take these things for granted because we're hyper-focused on being busy, doing what we're supposed to do within our everyday lives. I will hold summer 2020 as my favorite summer to ever happen, because we learned so much more about each other and bonded on so many more levels. My dad and I shared a huge love for music and the lyrics associated with the song. He would never admit this, but he was a very sensitive, emotional man, and he was able to express this side of himself through music. I really admired this about him, because vulnerability is one of the strongest yet hardest character traits a person can show in life. And during our weekly song exchanges, I got to see this side of him. Summer 2020 was also filled with lots of planning. It was trips to come see me in Poland, trips when the pandemic finally ends to our beloved San Diego, retirement plans he had with my mom that I was jealous of because of the vast amount of traveling they wanted to do. My dad was full of life and just waiting to live it. My dad and I didn't go many places this past summer, except mainly for our weekly food runs, but our car rides and the conversations we had about life were some of the most special conversations we have ever had. He never failed to show his interest in my personal life, my goals, or what was currently going on, and he always left room for respect to whatever I had to say. That openness he showed me is always something I will strive to implement to the people in my own life. My dad might be gone physically, but I know he will forever be in my mom's, his parents, and my heart. My dad will not be at my wedding, get to be a grandpa, or see me become a doctor. He won't just miss the big events, but I will also miss the smaller everyday events, such as our routine we had of sharing breakfast photos every morning, or him wanting photos of everything I did so he can store them all in an album for me. There are so many routines we had that are never going to go forgotten. I have the privilege to share his life and who he was with everyone in my life. He will always be in the hearts of the people who knew him, but he will also be with the people close to me throughout my life who did not get the chance to meet him. His strength, his spirit, and his sense of humor will live on with all of us. I will forever cherish our valuable stories and memories. He will always be here with me in my heart and will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Okay, apologize.
We're gonna
I'll
try.
follow you guys.
Okay, this is the temporary marker. We'll be here about 10 weeks. Give us a call around that time. We'll let you know if the stone's here or not. Okay? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. That will be the next section. We have an easement and a few more that goes on a diagonal spot here, but then we're going over to there. And then we're going a year ago. It's like I got this guy. Tom like we played a lot of fantasy football.
Little ones gonna be in middle school now.
We'll get together.
And then my 2 years, fresh.
I think he's I remember being on BJ8. This is a funny Tom Sawyer when we were talking about fantasy sports, and there was like a player I couldn't remember. This is like the middle of spring shift, midnight. And he's like, just take out your phone and Google it. Right now? I mean, it's like, take it out. I gave you permission.
You do all day. You write down whatever your bills are for the month, and you figure out your budget, and you do that. He goes, you don't watch your games. And South Point at the time, you know, Michael Gahn was there, and we wanted to know every single dollar that got dropped in the box and stuff. And so I'm sitting there, you know, I'm new on the floor, and I'm writing down everything. I got all the bills marked down and all that. And I'd ask Tom. Tom's like, what's today? Today's Thursday. Let's see, nothing really going on. Okay, I'm going to call it 5,000 and drop today, and we're going to say win 3. You know, just make shit up. And the next day, the shift manager's like, you called a drop 7, losing 2. We were winning 3. And he goes, I ought to go talk to Anthony Toady about this. And he goes, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to tell him that you won 5,000 more than you thought you did? Okay, I'll go in and tell him that he won 5,000 more. And I was like, well. But that's what he did. He just went, what's today, Tuesday? Okay, it's going to be this drop and we're going to win this much. Sure enough.
You can only take this dog to the park every so often.
I used to, yeah.